This is a new Pinarello Dogma X and one of the most expensive new road bikes of all time. But that is not the only incredible new bike that's just been released. There's also a new super lightweight road bike from Bianchi, a more affordable version of the Trek Domane, and much more. And in the video, I'll tell you all the details about these lovely new bikes, because I'm David and you're watching Just Ride Bikes. Pinarello doesn't have a good track record of endurance bikes really. It does race bikes extremely well with much success, but endurance bikes not so much. But that's not for lack of trying. There have been quite a few attempts over the years. The best, most famous one, the biggest failure perhaps, was the one with suspension, electronic suspension, that didn't really catch on. And the latest gimmick is something quite interesting and something I don't think I've seen before. We have what appears to be a lattice structure with super skinny rear stays with 2 points of contact into a seat tube, and this lattice structure, so 2 bridges across the seat stays to join the whole thing together. So this design should allow more comfort in the saddle, more compliance, whilst minimizing the amount of lateral flex so it doesn't twist around when you're powering out of the saddle and up a climb. Now sadly, Pinarello have put no figures out or data on how much compliance or how much comfort or flex the system offers, so more transparency here would be good so we can compare it to other endurance bikes in this category. So loads of focus on the back of the bike and that frame to provide more comfort in the saddle, but not so much at the front of the bike, where we find the same Talon one-piece carbon aero handlebar as used on the Dogma F. So very much a race handlebar designed for stiffness and for aerodynamics. Whereas Giant, for example, on their Defy, use a handlebar designed to allow more comfort and more flex with their D-View technology. So a bit of a missed opportunity here not to develop a new handlebar to give the same amount of flex as you get in the back. So I do have a worry about how balanced this bike will be compared to other rivals in this space, which do seem to offer a good amount of comfort through the handlebars and also through the saddle, which is what you want on a bike like this. Tyre clearance is more generous than a race bike, as you would expect, with up to a 35mm wide tyre fitting, but that's not as good as the new Specialized Roubaix, which goes up to 40, and the Giant Defy, which goes up to 38. So good, but probably not good enough. And there are also no mudguard mounts like we have on those other bikes. That's no surprise really. No mudguards on an Italian endurance bike, what a surprise. And like the Dogma F, they're the same high-end Toray 1100 carbon fiber they like to talk about, with a claimed frame weight of 950 grams, which is only 60 grams heavier than the Dogma F. And the frame, like the Dogma F, is only compatible with electronic group sets, so no fitting a mechanical 105 to this frame. And prices start at a fairly substantial £5,500 for a frame set here in the UK. And if you're watching in the US, you're very lucky because you get a bike costing a staggering $16,000 with a Campag Super Record group set and Bora WTO 45 wheels. And that is insane money. I think that might be the most expensive bike available right now. Let me know if I'm wrong by leaving a comment down below. Luckily though, if your budget can't quite stretch that $16,000, and don't worry, you're not alone, there is an X Series which is more affordable and also more comfort focused with a different rear stay design and more relaxed geometry as well. And that starts with the X5 at $6,000 and goes up to nearly $12,000 for the X9. So that's a relief if you're worried that the Dogma X was out of your budget. This is a brand new Bianchi Specialissima, which when it launched back in 2015, instantly went onto my list of all-time favorite road bikes I've ever ridden, and also one of the prettiest as well. But this new version isn't really doing it for me so much. All the angled tubes, which are inspired by the Ultra RC aero bike, just don't really work for me, and I do fear they have ruined a classic bike. Now, when the original launched all those years ago, it was primarily focused on being a lightweight road bike with a sensational ride quality thanks to that countervail technology in the carbon fiber layout, and it achieved that on both fronts. It was light and the ride was tremendous. Now, the new version is lighter, but not really chasing weight as much as you might expect. They're not going after the ethos from Specialized. They're going after the Tarmac SL8 with the all-round appeal of that bike. So lightweight and aerodynamic. The top of the range RC model has a claimed 6.6 kilo weight, which is the same as the Dogma X I rode a few weeks ago, and are pretty light but not especially lightweight, and they've achieved this low weight thanks to a wafer thin coat of paint which saves a massive 40 grams, a new carbon handlebar, skinny rear stays, and a few other bits and bobs here and there. So really nibbling around the edges rather than any big weight savings in any key area. But over the years, while weight hasn't been the main focus, aerodynamics has. The old model was more aero and this new model is even more aero to create a better all-round bike and a bike that's faster on the climbs for the pros. And Bianchi has loads of data and graphs which I'll flash up on screen now, and it claims the new bike can save you nearly 9 seconds riding at 200 watts on a 10-kilometer climb with a 6% gradient compared to the old bike, and really shows how far they come since the original back in 2015. The new bike will come in 3 levels of build: the comp, the pro and the RC, but at the time of making the video there are no prices, so an idea of what the bike will cost, but hopefully they release prices very soon, and hopefully it's a bike I can ride in the near future. Ridley bikes have fallen out of favour over the last few years, it's fair to say, especially here in the UK. They used to have quite a big presence, but not so much anymore. But this new Falcn RS, a brand new model in the range, might just put the Belgian brand back in the spotlight. So like the Tarmac and the aforementioned Specialissima, this new Falcn RS is pitched as an all-rounder, like so many bikes are these days, both lightweight and aerodynamic. And one day we might have all-round bikes that are so good we no longer need a lightweight climb bike or an out-and-out aero bike. But until then, the company offers this in between their lightweight Helium and their all-out aero Noah. But it's claiming the new Falcn is almost as aero as that Noah and nearly as light as the Helium. And with a SRAM fourth group set, you're looking at 7.4 kilos, which isn't especially lightweight. So hopefully these aero claims do back up, because the bike probably needs to be lighter if you're comparing this to the Tarmac and the Specialissima and other bikes in this category. Prices start at £6,000, go all the way up to £10,000, as is the case these days, sadly. So hopefully a bike I get a chance to ride in the future, one that looks good. It's a fairly kind of standard looking aero race lightweight bike, nothing kind of amazing going on, nothing very unique, but it does look clean, looks classy. I can't wait to ride it and see how it performs. The Trek Domane is a very, very popular endurance bike with comfort-focused cyclists, lots of cool features, and until the Roubaix and Defy came out, it had class-leading tire clearance, and we now have a new Domane AL, which brings all that technology and all that comfort to a lower price point with quite a few features over and above what you get in the carbon version. So like the carbon Domane and a big increase over the old Domane AL, this new aluminium version has space for up to 38mm wide tyres. So loads of options for a nice fat slick or a light gravel tyre for a really versatile all-terrain, all-road option. And then there are mounts for racks, mud guards and extra bags, so a really versatile option and good pick if you want a bike that can do the sportive on a Sunday, but then commute to work on a Monday to Friday, and maybe do an Audax or a long distance tour or a bit of bike packing. So really versatile, really friendly, accessible bike. But then the frame is using the SRAM UDH hanger design, which is an attempt by SRAM to consolidate all the hangers on the market, and there are up to 30,000 apparently, into one single design. And if you've ever bent or broken a hanger on a frame, you'll know again replacement parts can be tricky. But here, having one single design should make that much easier. The aluminium frame is also a chunk lighter than the old version by up to 225 grams, which is very impressive. And with a carbon fork and a Shimano Claris group set, you're looking at a weight of about 10 kilos, which is good for a bike of this specification. The new bike also gets internal cable routing as well, which looks really smart and clean and modern. But thankfully the brake hoses and cables go underneath the handlebar and underneath the stem into the frame. So you can, if you want, swap the stem, swap the handlebar. You're not tied into a fiddly system like you get on other kind of higher end bikes. And prices look good too, starting at $1,200 or just over £1,100 here in the UK. Let's turn our attention to gravel bikes for a moment, and Wilier has a brand new Adlar gravel bike packing option in its range, which goes alongside its very racy, aggressive Rave SLR that I reviewed last year. This is very much aimed at adventure riding, bike packing, not about racing, it's all about having fun and exploring and having a great time on a bike, in the woods, wherever you do your gravel. The bike then takes a lot of inspiration from mountain bikes, particularly in the geometry, with a very slack 70-degree head angle, which is the same as the BMC ERS, which is also mountain bike inspired, and a long reach and a short stem to give great handling and a nice roomy cockpit as well. And there's also space for up to a 2-inch wide tyre, so loads of options to fit the chunkiest, meatiest rubber you need. Wilier has also designed a bike for a suspension fork as well, and the rigid fork on the bike is extra long, longer than a normal rigid fork. So if you swap that rigid fork for a suspension fork, the geometry won't be ruined and won't be changed at all. So a nice feature that not seen any other bike brand do that yet. The Giant Revolt X is a gravel bike designed around a suspension fork, but there is no rigid fork for that. So here we have the option to have suspension or rigid on the same bike with the same geometry. And if you stick with the supplied rigid fork, there's dynamo routing for your all-night bike packing adventures. There are also mounts all across the frame and fork for extra bags, bottles and other gubbins, and the company has even designed its own racks, front and rear, which mount to a through axle with no other mounting hardware at all. These look really cool. Can't wait to get a closer look at these look really interesting. Wilier is clearly aiming the new bike to be fairly accessible, and that's reflected in the builds available with loads of mechanical options from Shimano, 11 speed and 12 speed. And prices start at €3,700 with GRX 11 speed and go up to nearly 5,000 with SRAM Rival Access Explorer. And with each model in the range, you can add a bike packing setup as well, which includes the front and rear racks I mentioned earlier, and a full set of bags from Miss Grape. So a great option if you need a bike packing, want to buy a bike, get all the bags and everything you need. So all you have to do is plan your route and away you go. And it's hopefully a bike I'll be getting my hands on very soon to ride and test here at Just Ride Bikes. And if you want to see that review, you can do that by hitting the subscribe button on screen right now. And if you want to see some other shiny bikes, this video will whet your appetite for other shiny bikes, then do watch the video right up here. Got any feedback, any questions at all, put them down below in the comment section. But that's this week's roundup of shiny new bikes. I'll see you all again very soon. Thank you so much for watching.